Okay, next up will be Matthew chapter 28.
In the end of the Sabbath, as it began to dawn toward the first day of the week, came Mary Magdalene and the other Mary to see the sepulchre. And behold, there was a great earthquake, for the angel of the Lord descended from heaven, and came and rolled back the stone from the door, and sat upon it. His countenance was like lightning, and his raiment white as snow. And for fear of him the keepers did shake, and became as dead men. And the angel answered and said unto the women, Fear not ye, for I know that ye seek Jesus which was crucified. He is not here, for he is risen, as he said. Come, see the place where the Lord lay.
Now it's time for the resurrection to occur. All right. Now it says that in the end of the Sabbath, okay, which is tells you the timing of it. Right, the Sabbath would have ended sundown Saturday, so now it's dark. So sometime after dark, it says that came Mary Magdalene and the other Mary to see the sepulchre. Now, why they wanted to go in the dark, I don't know, but they went there in the dark, okay? And so it's now early Sunday morning, so therefore the third day, right? And it's the day that we typically line up with Easter Sunday, right? So it's early Sunday morning, still dark, right? And they go to see the sepulchre, and while they were there, right, I guess they were led by the Lord to go there because they were there to witness what happened. As you see in the second verse, there was a great earthquake. The angel of the Lord descended from heaven and rolled back the stone from the door and sat on it. It must have been pretty impressive looking, right? So must have been a pretty strong angel too. That's why we usually say that the angels actually would have some actual strength, because they rolled back the big stone, which we read in the previous chapter. Not only was the big stone, it was sealed in whatever way they seal it. So like I said, I don't know what they used to seal it, but the angel came and rolled the stone right away, right, and sat on it, right, and now, as you see in 3, it says his countenance was like lightning and his raiment white as snow, right? So, I mean, I'm sure it lit up the whole area at this point, even though it was dark. Like, whoa, here comes this bright-looking angel, and it rolls back the stone. So these poor guys who were guarding it were totally outclassed at this point, right? How can you fight against this? Right, so that's why in 4 it says, for fear of him, the keepers did shake and became as dead men, right? And which I suppose I would too, right? I mean, they figured this was just a nice, easy, boring job. We're just going to sit here through the night, make sure nobody breaks into the tomb, and here's somebody come down from heaven and breaks into the tomb, right? What's up with that? So they became as dead men, right? And now the angel speaks to Mary and Mary, right, who had come to the tomb and said, don't worry, I know you're here to see Jesus, right, which was crucified, but he's already risen, right? And so that's kind of part of it also, is, yeah, he rolled the stone away, but that was more so people could see that he was risen. I mean, they didn't really need to take the stone away for Jesus to resurrect. I mean, obviously, he can go right through that, all right? It's a heavenly body at this point, all right? But if the stone was still sealed up, nobody would know that he resurrected. So that's why that was for their benefit, to see the stone rolled away, and then they can go in and see that he was gone. Right, but as you see in 6, says he's not here, he's risen, as he said, come and see the place where the Lord lay. So now he's inviting them to come in and look at where the body was, because they're going to see the body's not there anymore.
And go quickly and tell his disciples that he is risen from the dead. And behold, he goeth before you into Galilee. There shall ye see him. Lo, I have told you. And they departed quickly from the sepulchre with fear and great joy, and did run to bring his disciples word. And as they went to tell his disciples, behold, Jesus met them, saying, All hail. And they came and held him by the feet and worshipped him. Then said Jesus unto them, Be not afraid. Go tell my brethren that they go into Galilee, and there shall they see me.
This is continuing the angel's instruction to the women. So he says, Go quickly, tell his disciples risen from the dead, and then he goes before you into Galilee. All right, and now it says, Lo, I have told you. Right, now if you remember a couple chapters ago, okay, and I mentioned then that this would come up later, and this is the later, right, when Jesus was being arrested, right, and at first, this time was going to try and fight or whatever, and he said, don't do that, all right, just the process is going to carry through now, don't worry, after it's all done and I've resurrected, I'll come and see you in Galilee. Right, so he told them then, he says, after 3 days, you're going to see me in Galilee. So now the 3 days have passed, and I guess people in the whole excitement of the moment, they forget these things, all right? So the angel said, remember, he said, see you in Galilee. So that's where you need to go. Go tell his disciples to wait in Galilee, and then he'll be there to see them, right? And so it says they departed quickly to go tell the disciples what happened, right? And now on their way, at least as this gospel records, on their way they run into Jesus on the road, right? And as you see, it says they went to tell the disciples. Jesus met them, saying, "All hail!" Right? And so they came and grabbed him by the feet and worshipped him. And Jesus said, okay, don't be afraid. I'm on my way to Galilee to see the rest of the disciples. So get and join them, and I'll see you there. Now, as I point out that in this gospel, it explains it that way, right? Other ones have a slightly different version of it. One of them has him appearing at the tomb, right, where he speaks to Mary and calls her by name, and that's when she recognizes him. That's one of the other gospels. Another one just has him, he just appears in Galilee, and they've never seen him otherwise. So, there's some slight variations to what actually occurred there, but the point is he was now risen, and he was going to, in some way, shape, or form, be seen by his followers at this point.
Now when they were going, behold, some of the watch came into the city, and showed unto the chief priests all the things that were done. And when they were assembled with the elders, and had taken counsel, they gave large money unto the soldiers, saying, Say ye, his disciples came by night, and stole him away while we slept. And if this come to the governor's ears, we will persuade him and secure you. So they took the money, and did as they were taught, and this saying is commonly reported among the Jews until this day.
Remember I said that some of the other people were dishonest in their own way, right? And that's why they thought of this whole scheme that somebody would come and steal the body and say he resurrected, right? Well, now you get to see what they're going to do with this turn of events, right? So he says 11 says, while this was going on, some of the watch came into the city, the watch being the ones who were watching the tomb, right? The ones who were assigned to make sure nobody stole the body, right? So the angel came and scared them to death, and now they've gone back into the city, right? And so they're just saying, you got to see what happened, you imagine them going and saying, you guys are really fighting against God here, right? An angel came down, rolled the stone away, and the body's gone. And so now they have a meeting, right? So what are we going to do now, right? These guys are saying that an angel came and freed the body, so they come up with another plan. It says in 12, it says they decide they're going to pay these soldiers some large amount, right? And as long as they tell the story that they're going to give them. What they said they were afraid was going to happen, they decided they're going to make it the story, right? So they said, okay, soldiers, we're going to give you this money, and we want you to tell anybody who asks that his disciples came and stole the body. Because that's exactly what they were supposed to prevent happening, right? So actually, if you think about it, right, that the soldiers would be admitting that they were lousy at their job, right? That they were assigned to make sure nobody stole the body, and somebody stole the body anyway, right? So that's what he says. He says, say his disciples came by night and stole him away while we slept, right? I guess they fell asleep on the job, and while they were sleeping, the disciples came and stole the body, right? And so it says, and if push comes to shove, and the governor wants to investigate, we'll back you up, right? We'll say, oh yeah, that's what we heard too, was that the disciples came and stole his body, right? And so in 15, they took the money, and that was the story. And I like what it says, this saying is commonly reported among the Jews until this day, right? In other words, the day that it was written, right? So as of the time that this gospel was actually written, I guess that story was still going around, that the disciples had actually broken in and while the soldiers were sleeping and stole the body out of the tomb.
Then the 11 disciples went away into Galilee, into a mountain where Jesus had appointed them. And when they saw him, they worshipped him, but some doubted. And Jesus came and spake unto them, saying, All power is given unto me in heaven and in earth. Go ye therefore and teach all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost, teaching them to observe all things whatsoever I have commanded you, and lo, I am with you always, even unto the end of the world. Amen.
All right, so the 11 remaining disciples, since Judas had committed suicide, right, so the 11 that were left, so they went to Galilee where Jesus told them, right, and they saw him there, it says they worshipped him, right, but some doubted. This is a very high-level description of what happened, right, because as you remember from the Gospel of John, it was the whole story of doubting Thomas and so forth, and so yeah, this is a very high-level explanation here, right? Yeah, he came, they saw, some doubted, right, and now we move on, right? So, but again, different different parts receive more emphasis from the different writers, right? And I believe that the Gospel of John was actually the last one written, which is why it tends to be the most different than the other ones. So he probably had access to these and made a point to further describe stuff that was not covered by the other writers, would be my guess, right? So that's why his tends to have more detail on other episodes than the other ones do, right? Because he was filling in the blanks, if you will. But anyway, so it says they saw him, and now Jesus is going to give them like a final instruction here before he ascends to heaven, right? It says all power is going to be in heaven and earth. Go ye therefore and teach all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Ghost. Teach them to observe all things whatsoever I've commanded you, and lo, I'm with you always, even to the end of the world. Okay? This is his instructions. Now, this goes by a couple different names. All right? Well, I mean, one is recognized by pretty much all of Christianity. We have another name that we assign to it in our faith. All right. So let's try the first one first. Okay. Those two verses are what's known as the Great Commission. Okay, so that's a phrase that I want you to remember, the Great Commission, because in essence what Jesus is doing is he's sending his disciples out to preach the gospel and to teach people the things that he taught, because that was the whole purpose of him teaching them. All right, it wasn't just to hang around with them for 3 years and now it's all over. All right, but rather he was starting a new faith and a new religion, if you will, and so he wanted people to now teach his disciples to teach what he had taught them. So that's why, so he says in 19, go and teach all nations, baptize them, to teach them all the things that I've commanded you, and I'll be with you as you do this. All right. So really, and anybody who's like in an evangelistic frame of mind generally refers to this. When we had when I went to the evangelist meetings for the church, this would come up quite often. Like this was basically our commission: go in all the world, right? Take it anywhere. So that's why we take it beyond we take it beyond this town. We take it beyond the United States into other countries, right? That's the Great Commission that Jesus gave: is that go all the world, teach all nations, right? So that was his commission to them, what he told them to do. So that's why it's kind of the end of this gospel. That's the kickoff to the new era. All right, now my time on earth is done. Now it's up to you to take the gospel and go to all nations and teach what I've taught you. All right, that would be the Great Commission. And this way it gets passed on all through the ages. So that those disciples taught who was around then, and then so the children would grow up and become adults, and then they would be the ones teaching the other people, and so forth. And it's all the way down to today, and we try to do the same today. That's why we like to teach of all ages. We want to teach younger ones also. This way they can be the next round of teachers to other people. Okay, so that's the Great Commission. All right. Now we also refer to the same verses though by another term, and that term is the everlasting covenant. Okay. Now, a covenant is like an agreement, all right? An agreement with promises made. I'll do this and you do this, all right? So that's a covenant. Okay. Now, if you look at it that way, all right, as a covenant, see, Jesus is telling them, go baptize and teach people what I've taught you. That's your part of it, and my part of it is I'll be with you always. All right, so in other words, that's the agreement. You teach what I taught, and then I'll be with you. All right, so that your part, my part. Okay. Now the reason that we frame it that way is because over the time of history, especially in the next few hundred years after this occurs, people stop teaching what Jesus taught, and it's our belief as a church that there was something called an apostasy, where the Lord stopped being with religions and churches, right, for a period of like 1,200 years, right, until the gospel was restored, right? And so we point to this and say that Jesus said, "You teach what I taught you, and then I'll be with you." And so therefore, saying, well, that if they stop doing that, then the Lord stopped being with them, right? That it kind of goes together, right? And a verse that I want to bring to your attention that goes with that, and you don't want necessarily to turn to it, I'll just read it to you, is in Isaiah chapter 24, verse 5, it says, the earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, and broken the everlasting covenant. All right, and so they broke the everlasting covenant by changing the ordinances. So the ordinances of the church were things that were changed. Baptism, communion, feet washing, right? All those things either were changed or even done away with as time passed. And so when the gospel was restored, that was all brought back. But during the time in between was the time that we call the apostasy, where, as we said, that the everlasting covenant was such that, they broke the everlasting covenant, so therefore the Lord was not with them for a period of time until the gospel was restored. Right, so that's our position as a church. Now, obviously, other churches would not agree with that. They say God's been with them all along, all right? But that's our position as a church, is that there was an apostasy period of time when the Lord was not blessing churches until the gospel was restored. Okay, so that's because they broke the everlasting covenant per the verse that I just read in Isaiah. All right, so those last two verses in Matthew has two purposes, right? The Great Commission, where Jesus is sending everybody out to all nations, but also setting up, say, you teach what I told you, and then I'll be with you always. And so we believe that today. As long as we teach what he taught us, then he's going to be with us, and that's what we expect, because that's what he promised.